Good evening. Welcome to week 4, Intel 400. I just want to, just wanted to welcome you to week 4 and just say you should all have a pretty good example of your topic, and you should be trying to narrow it down as much as possible. And I was pretty specific on the comments so far. If there's any questions with the forums or the marking of week 3, please, or week 2, please let me know. And I should have week 3 back to you this week. What I've seen from week 3 is that a lot of you don't have a very clear independent variables. Your hypothesis has to have both, and it has to be a narrow focus with a testable theory. For example, I said last week, say my hypothesis is unemployment causes revolution. Independent variable is unemployment, revolution is dependent variable. That is a testable thesis. I can, apply it across different cases, Egypt, Syria, Iran, etc., but I could also interchange the variables. I cannot just say unemployment, but I could say maybe technology causes revolution. Maybe gender inequality causes revolution. So I could switch out the variables and test those to see what's successful. That's what you're looking for. If some of you had very broad thesis like, will China go to war with the United States over Taiwan? Way too broad. A better thesis would be, does China's asymmetric capability neutralize the U.S. Navy in the South China Sea? That's a thesis. That's something that you can prove with evidence, you can disprove, you can interchange the variables. It might not be China's asymmetric warfare capability, it could be their conventional capability, it could be their air force capability, it could be their bigger population that gives them an advantage over the U.S. Navy. That is a better thesis, and that's testable. So when your hypothesis, you need to spell out your dependent variables, and you need to make sure that they're testable in that manner. I wrote a lot of suggestions on your assignments, for your week 2 assignments. Those are suggestions. They're not. You don't have to take them. You don't have to make them your thesis or your papers. I just wanted to illustrate how you can narrow down a topic a little bit. So that's kind of where I was going with that. If there's any questions or issues, please let me know. So week 4, a lot of the research was covered. What I'm going to cover now is just the writing and writing intelligence papers, intelligence documents. Before we get started, writing is your bread and butter if you want to be an Intel analyst. That's how you communicate, that's how you make your mark, that's how you advance. If you can't, it's like, used to be an infantryman, if you can't navigate with a compass and map, you're no good in the infantry special operations world. If you can't write, you're no good in the intelligence community. So take any advantage how you write, take any training you can get with writing, including this course and beyond, so that you can perfect your skill or come as close to perfecting as possible. And when I write, and I'll say that most Intel papers should have these 4 elements. The first element is a thesis statement. Just like we've been working on thesis and hypothesis, it has to be a strong argument that can be testable and that can be disproven. Right? You want to have an argument. There should be, if you're not having a point of debate or a point of contention, there's no point in writing what you're trying to write. So if your paper is something like Al-Qaeda is bad, you could probably prove that, but that's not going to be a very interesting paper. A more interesting paper would be Al-Qaeda in India, in the Pakistan-Afghan border has been strategically defeated. That is a hypothesis that's testable and that's controversial. So that's what your intro should always be, a very strong thesis statement right up front. No one should have to look for it, and it should be, again, provable and argumentative. So thesis statement is element 1. Element 2, evidence to back up your thesis statement. So I like to try and keep these simple, and most intelligence products that you write won't be more than 2 pages. So you got to be as concise as possible. But you introduce piece of evidence to back up your thesis. So you say Al-Qaeda has been strategically defeated along the Pakistani border, and you bring up evidence. First, the destruction of their leadership, including the death of Osama bin Laden and so forth. Second, they've lost the population of the support of the population in the tribal areas, and then you list evidence to support that up. And then the third thing you say, first, furthermore, in addition, their ability to operate freely has been determined by the drones, or has been significantly hindered by our drone policies. And then you say, and finally, the Pakistani government has supported counterinsurgency operations in Waziristan. So that's how you lay out your evidence. You say, first, I believe this. Furthermore, in addition to, moreover, finally. And be as concise as possible, and you should be good. So that's number 2. Number 3, recommendations. Every one of your intelligence products should have recommendations, because you should be writing something to drive a policy or drive operations. There's no point in writing something if it's not going to lead to those decisions. And also, most importantly, your recommendations kind of tell the audience how severe the intelligence is. And when I say that, to be a little bit more specific, some of you probably have been in Iraq and Afghanistan, and you've either given briefings or been receiving on briefings that say, hey, there's an IED threat out there, there's a VBID threat out in your sector. Well, that doesn't mean anything. I mean, if you're an operator, what is that supposed to mean? Am I supposed to cancel the operation? Am I supposed to take increased security? Am I supposed to what? So if you say, I always give the IED example, always back off recommendation to say, sure, there's a VBID sector and there's a VBID problem in your sector. However, I would recommend that you, 1, don't cancel the operation because the operation is too important, but you beef up your security. You don't let vehicles come within 20 feet of your convoy, and you travel only at night. So your recommendations kind of bracket that. Now, if you were to say, sure, there's a VBID threat in your sector and you should cancel operations, that lets the receiver of the intelligence know that the threat is so severe that he needs to stop. So that's why I always put recommendations in my thesis statements or my intelligence papers. And then finally, you address rebuttal arguments. Going back to the Al-Qaeda strategic defeat, what happens today? No, Al-Qaeda is still operating. Ayman Zawahiri is still alive. Then you say, yes, Ayman Zawahiri is still alive. However, he has no operational capability over Al-Qaeda. Yes, but the Pakistanis aren't operating. Yes, the Pakistanis aren't cooperating with the United States, but that does not make a difference in Al-Qaeda's strategic demise. So you always address the rebuttal arguments in your paper. So again, 4 things you should have: thesis, evidence to back it up, recommendation, and then address the rebuttal arguments. Those 4 things, you put those in your intelligence products, you're 85% of the way there. So just wanted to hit that up. The research stuff is pretty well laid out in the lesson plan. And if there's any questions or issues, please let me know.